Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Kunal Patel, and today in this video we are going to discuss a very important layout that is known as the constraint layout, right? So in earlier videos you observed that we used linear layout and relative layouts, right? So what are the drawbacks in that? Whenever you want to create a complex design, right? So you need to use a nested layouts, right? So in our previous examples, login example also, we discussed that we have created linear layout within the linear layout, relative layout within the it linear layout we have designed, right? So whenever a design is very big, then at the same time, it will be very tedious task to design that particular thing. A second use of constraint layout is that whenever right now you see that we have a different phone with a different screen sizes, right? So if you have a different screen sizes, then if you have designed that particular layouts, right, other than the constraint layout, right? So you have to manually do the work, lots of work you have to do, right? So if you want to avoid that, and if you want to make your UI is a responsive UI, then at the same time the constraint layout is very useful, right? So how to create the constraint layout? So by default, this constraint layout is set whenever you are creating a new project, right? If it is not there, then you can see if I have a relative layout, right? Then you can see if I want to convert it into constraint layout, then I just simply need to write constraint layout, right? And it will be converted into that. And here in a component tree, also you can observe that there is a constraint layout, right? So this way you can create the constraint layout. Okay. Now let's just go to the design section, right? So here there are lots of commands and lots of controls are there. So let's talk about each and every, right? So you will get the better idea, right? So here initially, as I told you that you choose either a design or a blueprint, or you can go for a design and blueprint. So whenever I suggest you that if you deal with the constraint layout, then just keep it both, that is the design and blueprint. That is my belief, right? If you are comfortable only with the design portion, then it's fine for you, right? Now after that you can just see that here portrait and landscape. So let's put some controls and see what happens, right? So right now if you see, these are the particular button and text view. Okay, so what happens over here if I increase the size, right? Or if I also increase the size of it, okay, and I want this over here and I want this over here. So right now I have choose the pixel phone, right? Suppose say for example, if I choose another phone, then you can see the position of this particular controls are changed, right? So here you can see if I go to back, if my screen size is big, then also it changes the particular screen sizes, right? And that's it, right? So now if you see over here that another is a portrait and landscape mode, right? So here you can see if I convert it into the landscape mode, then where is my text view, right? So this is not the preferable design, right? So if someone is using a portrait view, landscape view, then your design is not viewing over here, your view is gone, right? So to avoid this kind of misbehave of your devices, right? So for that we are just using the constraint layouts, right? So here you can see that this is the benefit of the constraint layout. Okay, so here you can see that. So here you can see that this particular thing is there, right? So now this is my custom view. Okay, and here if I put a one button, okay, right? So around that button, you will find these are the four dots, right? So these are known as the connector points, right? And if you drag and drop from here, so this is known as the anchor point, right? So whenever you are dragging and dropping through that particular point, you can observe over here, right? So here one spring is there, right? So here this particular now control view is constrained to its parent, right? So still we are getting this error over here, right? If you hover a mouse on that, so you will see that missing constraint in a constraint layout. Click the badge for detail, right? So if you click on it, then missing constraints, right? So whenever you are remember one thing dealing with the constraint layout, then compulsory you have to provide either a one vertical or one horizontal layout, right? Suppose if I remove this, right? So clear constraint of selection, right? And if I go, right, and if I give it to over here and if I position it, right? So now you can observe that this particular error is gone. Okay, so compulsory you have to provide one of the either vertical, one of the both of these this either a vertical or a horizontal constraint layout, but mandatory, right? So this kind you can avoid this particular thing over here, right? So now you can observe one thing over here that right now this is a 208, this is a margin to the parent, right? And from here it is a 132, okay, right? So now let's just go to over this and discuss that. So all constraints, right? So if you have provided all the constraints, then it will show you the all constraints. So right now if I'm stretching it over both the sides, then it is in the center, right? So here you can see that if you want, then you can all constraint source and show margin. So whenever you are dealing with, then click on this, right? Now another thing over here that if I choose this, so disable auto connection to parent, right? So right now you can observe the things over here. So first let's use this clear all constraints. So I'm just clearing all the constraints, right, from this layout. Right now there is no constraint is assigned to this view, right? Now suppose let's use this. So disable auto connection to parent. So observe the difference, right? So now if I put a button over here, then you can observe that this particular thing automatically is added to this button view, right? So now if I delete this, right, if I click on this and again if I put that view over here, then now you can observe that auto connection is not established, right? So this is the use of it, right? So later on if you want your constraint by your own, then you can use this disabled, right? So now if I want the auto connection enable, then I just need to click on this and it will be applicable whenever you put a new view, right? So like this. Okay, so here you can see that let me choose that first. Okay, now you can observe that, right? So it is now auto connected, right? So this may happen, right? So you have to choose that particular thing wisely, right? So now let us again, I'm putting it back, putting back this into the center, right? So you can observe the thing, right? Okay, now here this particular thing is a default margin. So if you want all your views have a default margin of something, right? So like suppose if I want default, suppose say for example, right now let's first of all do this. So here I'm just putting that both the widths you can see over here. So this is a wrap content. This arrow shows the wrap content. If I click on it, then it shows the line that is a fixed value, right? And if I put it like this and it shows the zigzag, what does it mean? That it means the match parent, right? So there is a specific meaning of these particular symbols over here, right? So instead of this particular thing to set over here wrap content, right? So if I want that to be match parent, so 0, so I can put it back over here. Now you can observe the thing over there that this particular view does not have any margin, right? So now suppose if I want the margin of 24, right? So here you can just go there and put a 24 and now you put the button over here. So by default, this particular button have a 24 margin. So if you stretch it to that particular button over here, right? and I'm just removing this error purpose. I'm just using it and I'm just keeping it over here, right? So now suppose if I make this button as a particular 0 dp, right? So that should be a change, right? So you can observe the thing over here. So this particular button will have a 24, should have a 24 dp, right? So anyhow it is not getting over there, so let me remove that first and just set the 24 dp. Okay, and let's put this. Okay, now I just go to there and put it over here, but before that I just need to put that. So you can observe this is 24, right? And this is 24. Okay, okay, so these are the 24, 24 by default, right? If you see that if I minimize this, then also it is fixed to 24 because we have set it to the 24, right? And here you can see this is a fixed, right? And now here you can see it expand to the margin of 24, right? So here you can observe that. So this is the meaning of this default. Okay, this. Now, what is the use of this button? So in for constraints. So if you remove the all constraint from over here, right? So there is a one error button will be enabled over here, and if you click on this, then target touch size too small and all that, right? So we are not dealing with this, we are dealing with this missing constraint in a constraint layout, right? So now suppose automatically if I want to provide the constraint all this, then I just need to click on this, right? So it will provide automatically all the constraint to that particular view, right? So you can observe the thing over here, right? So let me increase this size, right? And you can see, right? Okay, now let's go to this. Okay, so here expand horizontally. So you can see it is expanded horizontally, but default margin will be 24. So it is stick to the 24, right? So here also you can see expand horizontally. And suppose if I want it to expand vertically, then it will expand vertically. But here one thing you just notice that it is expanded vertically based on this particular view. So it will choose the nearest view, closest view. So whatever is the closest view over here, so according to that it will expand, right? Suppose if I want to make it the expand vertically, then you can observe. So here vertically it will expand, but here the parent view, so and the closest view. So according to that it will expand, right? So here you can just observe the things, right? So you can just create horizontal and vertical expansion of the particular views, right? Now you can just go over here and here you can see that let me decrease the size a little bit. Okay, right. So now if I want that it's horizontally, right? Then again, let me put this in a horizontally. So you can see that it's a alignment horizontal, right? Now put the vertical. So again, you can see again, it chooses the closest one and put all the things and put it in a center, right? So similarly, suppose if I click over here and put it in a vertical, then it will choose this as a base and here it will centralized in alignment, right? Now suppose for example, right now I have selected this and I just use this vertically in parent. So let's see what happens. So now you can observe the thing that now it will choose this particular border as a parent, right? And according to that, it will put it itself in a center, right? So you can see that same way for this. Suppose if I drag it over here, right, and horizontal in the parent, then it will be centered over here, right? So you can observe the things like this. Okay, so let me remove this button, right? Let me select this. Here there are lots of other controls are there, so we'll see in my next videos, right, each and every control. But right now let me again use one of another important control that over here you can observe, right? So whenever you have both the side this spring enabled, right? Both the constraint you have set, then this particular thing is visible. This is by default center, right? So now suppose if I remove one of these, then you will see vertical bias. This is known as the bias, right? So that vertical biasing is gone. So now suppose if, for example, if I want to enable it, then I just need to provide both the sides, both the vertical sides constraint, right? So instead of this moving of this control over here, you can also put this like this. You can also move it like this. Same way you can do in the horizontal one. So you can observe the things. So this will be useful over here, right? So this is the particular each and every control that are very useful, and you have to deal with this particular control whenever you are dealing with the constraint layout, right? So that's it, guys. This is for this video, and we are also going to see constraint layout in a detail, right, in my next video. Thanks for watching.